here we are. It is Thursday morning. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Pastor Jeff Waterman.
Welcome,
Hey
Andy.
there.
Good to be here.
Great to be here. Thank you so much. And here we are, overflowing from our Sunday service. Today is
Right.
episode 23.
23.
Yep.
Wow.
We were just chatting that next week we're going to be covering Psalm 23. We missed it a little.
Missed it by 1 week. Why didn't we plan better?
Right, sure. So this past Sunday, it was A Voice for Loneliness. We've been continuing our new summer Psalm series of The Voice of the Heart.
Right.
And it's been a blast so far. I've really enjoyed the reflection element and seeing a lot of people take part in that. What is our reflection element? Can you just give us the lowdown?
Sure. Well, you came up with it, so you get credit for this one,
Well,
Andy.
thanks. Me and ChatGPT and the team.
The team.
Yeah.
I think the team refined it, right? But yeah, I think it's going to be kind of neat. Hopefully people will value it. It's this idea that every week we're going to fill out a card, right?
Yeah.
And it has two sides. On the first side, it is when I'm feeling, and the goal is to write whatever it is that emotion that we're covering that day. So obviously last week, loneliness, right?
Yeah.
When I'm feeling lonely, then on the back, we're giving people an opportunity to write down one thing from the teaching or the day that God brought to their attention. We call it a kairos moment here at the well. Just what is something that God is grabbing your attention with, and write that down.
Yeah.
So that, and at the end of the summer, they'll have 13 of these little
That's right.
cards of all these different emotions as kind of like a flashcard or an old school Rolodex. So if you're there, one day you're sitting out on your deck or in your couch or love seat or whatever, and you're like, I feel so lonely today. You can go to loneliness and go, what did I choose to remember?
I love that. Absolutely. So yeah, when I feel loneliness, I choose to remember this particular truth from God, from his word that we're covering in the service that day.
Yes.
I love it. And there's kind of a secondary part of this as well, that the youth and our kids, they're participating in this booklet too.
Okay,
It's
cool.
super cool. Yeah. Drawing some pictures, having to go along with it, and then adding those into the booklets. So yes, at the end of the 13-week series, we have a bit of like a psalm booklet it's called My Heart's Voice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should be neat. Hopefully it works out, and hopefully people enjoy that and put their heart into it.
Yeah, I like that. Very good. And that is really what the Psalms are doing already. And that's kind of why we're diving in, is to give a voice to the different emotions that we have as we go on through life, as we feel fear or anger or loneliness or whatever the case might be. Right. We can look into the Psalms and have some inspiration, say, oh, you know what? We're not so far off. Even David is feeling this way. Even the sons of Korah are feeling this way.
Yeah, Interestingly enough, I started watching on Amazon. There's a show called The House of David.
Yeah.
And started watching that. And it's kind of interesting because sometimes we just see David through the lenses of the Goliath event or the Bathsheba event. And he loses some of his humanity, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Psalms, as we said, helps us see the human side of these people that maybe we thought of were bigger than life.
Right.
To us. And so obviously 139 is Psalm of David, and I think it helps us in that time where I bet he did feel lonely a lot. I bet.
Yeah.
Particularly when he's on the run from Saul and he's
That's what
hiding
I'm
in
thinking.
caves, and he was out shepherding sheep, and I think that's one of the neat things of that House of David is it shows him, at least before he's anointed by Samuel, like he spent a lot of time out by himself just plucking away at his harp, just he and
He and
God,
the sheep.
and that's it.
Yeah, and God, right? Of course. Well, that's actually a very important thing to mention. So when you said just he and I'm like the sheep and God, that's all. So God is what we're seeing in this Psalm in 139 is that he is omnipresent.
Yeah.
That's a big word right there. Is it in the Psalm itself?
Well, omnipresent is really nowhere in the Bible, right? That word, it's like a lot of other theological words where Trinity is not in the Bible either.
That's right.
Rapture is not in the Bible, but the concept or this idea. So we've given a word to it. And omnipresent, although that word isn't here, the concept just shines through. Like he says, where can I go to hide from you? If I go to the heavens, you're there. If I go to the depths of Sheol, you're there. If I go to the sea, you're there. No matter where I go, you are there. Now, He is everywhere, but he is not everything.
That's a great distinction.
There's certain beliefs in our culture
Mm-hmm.
that, they kind of worship Mother Earth,
Yeah.
or they worship angels
Uh-huh.
or created things. Although God is everywhere, he is not everything.
Right. Yeah. Very, very important distinction. So yes, he is comprehensively present. That's
Right.
the specific wording that you used on Sunday. I love that. And you even went into what does it really mean to be comprehensively anything? It is the completeness of something. Yeah.
Yeah, what I wanted to do this Sunday is I think it's somewhat easy for us to say, oh yeah, God is everywhere. But to be present with me, because the other comprehensively thing we said was he's comprehensively personal.
Yeah.
Right. So he's not just present everywhere. He's present with me.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
Yeah. So as David says, I can't go anywhere and escape you. Not we or people. He says, I can't go anywhere and escape you. You're right there with me. You're omnipresent. You're present everywhere I go.
Yes, deeply personal. And that's both quite scary as well as very comforting.
Right, because sometimes we are doing things we really don't want God to see.
Yeah,
Right?
but that's also discussed in the Psalm, isn't it? One of the things that has always spoken to me through here, and we've chatted a little bit earlier about this, is in verse 11 when he says, if I say, surely the darkness shall cover me and the light about me be night. So in other words, I'm going to go into a dark area where I don't think anybody's going to see what I'm about to do. He continues in verse 12 by saying, even the darkness is not dark to you, for the night is bright as the day. Darkness is as light with you. And so we were kind of joking, like, my goodness, if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do this thing in secret in the dark and nobody's going to notice, and maybe my family's in the other room and all these terrible things that kind of people think about or whatever. Imagine doing that in the middle of Grand River out there in the middle of broad daylight. That's the same thing in regards to God being aware.
Yeah, go down to the mill pond and just stand at where all the tridge comes together and do whatever you're going to do there. Like everybody's going to see. You won't be there long, right? The cops will come. And
Yeah, not good. In fact, that's kind of the thought that we probably should have in regards to any of these sinful, the nature of sin that's within us and those desires or whatever that creep up, or the ideas that are then hopefully not conceived and give birth to sin, right? So it's that catching of those things.
Yeah, I was just talking with someone yesterday about the concept of sin, and we were talking about how we often look at the behavior we do as sin, right?
Oh yeah.
But so that this omnipresence is more comforting than it is terrifying.
Yeah.
I think we need to go back and what is sin. Sin is not necessarily the behavior I do, but it is the motivation behind that behavior. So if I'm living to gratify flesh, right? Because Paul says there's this battle between spirit and flesh, right? Here's what it looks like to live according to the flesh. Here's what is the spirit. If my goal is to live as God is king of my heart, he's the one that I'm trying to serve, I can still screw up, but guess what? The sin's not quite there because my trajectory is that way.
Right.
The sin is when I go, I don't really care what God says. I'm serving me, and this is what I want to do at this moment, at this time. I'm serving me and what my feelings are, rather than God. And so, if you approach it like, hey, I'm the one on the table and I'm hoping that God's okay with what I do, well, you're still serving yourself. So now omnipresence becomes very fearful because you're afraid of what you're going to get caught doing. But if your goal is to live for God and become closer and closer to him and allow him to make you into the person he's designed you to be, even when you screw up, you're like, oh, thank you, because I don't want to do that anymore.
Right, exactly. Literally search me and know my heart. See if there's any grievous way within me. Lead me in the way everlasting.
Right, because I trust that you know what's best for me, so that's where I want to be.
Exactly, yeah. And so the sin being the thought, not the behavior, but rather what is intrinsic or whatever is internal. It reminds me as well of the Sermon on the Mount or the Plains, right? So the Beatitudes, and well, not the Beatitudes, so to speak, but really it was like it's more about the heart posture. You know, you can be angry at your brother, right? Or it's actually murder and things like that. So yeah, be angry and do not sin. Though we need to clarify that.
Which is the interesting thing about, so this is a Psalm of David. So what you just brought up brought this thought to my mind. David is called a man after God's own heart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's an interesting title because, yeah, we like to think of the David that slew Goliath, right? We like to think of the David that wrote Psalm 139 and the 23rd Psalm and all of these things. We don't like to think of the David that had an affair with Bathsheba, then killed her husband.
Right.
We don't like to think about that David. But that David that is a murderer and an adulterer is called a man after God's own heart.
How does that work?
Because ultimately, I believe, as I've tried to also make sense of it, this is where I land, other people could land differently, is that when Nathan confronts him with all of it, he's trying to hide everything, right? The reason he kills Bathsheba's husband is because, hey, if he goes back and he dies, everybody will think it's his kid, and then da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought he got away with it. He thought, all right, yep, I got away with this. Nobody knows any different.
Right.
But God says, I know because I'm with you.
Isn't that something?
And so he confronts him with Nathan, right? Nathan comes and
through
confronts
Nathan the
him.
prophet.
And what David does isn't go, well, and make up all these excuses. He repents.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the son that comes and takes the throne from David is not that son from that incident, but the next son from Bathsheba. So it's just interesting how God redeems that. Even the most egregious sin, God can redeem that if our heart posture is toward him.
That is very comforting because we all make a lot of bad decisions.
We do.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Man, so that it is comforting that God can be comprehensively personal in that regard. He knows everything that's going on. I love this. He knows all people, but he also knows me individually. He knows what I do. He knows what I think. He knows where I go. He knows what I say. He knows what I need. And before all those things as well.
So he's omniscient.
There you go. That's the other one. So we've covered omnipresent, and now we have omniscience.
Yeah, when people hear these big words, these big theology words, they sometimes are like, theology. That's for people with long white beards and robes to sit in some place, talking about the drier things of faith. Mm-hmm. But this theology just means a study of God, study of the Word of God, theos logos, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And so it's just having a position or having what is it we believe, and we believe that God knows everything there is to know.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows everything. So he knows what you're going to think before you think it. He knows what you're going to say before you say it. Well, there's a lot of things in my world that I didn't say that I kept in here, but in my brain I was saying it. God knows that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And we thank God afterward for either helping us to tame our tongue or hold back in those moments, as James, says the perfect is the man who is able to tame his tongue. That's a difficult thing, and we see it more and more and more these days with people feeling the right or the entitlement to respond back to anything that might be a little bit of a sensitive, delicate thing, and then they get a little bit angered about that, or whatever the case is. They respond with such vileness, and it never promotes unity. It never promotes reconciliation or peace. It really creates chaos and division.
Yeah, and we're told to let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. Yeah. Only that which is useful for building up.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's think about that. How many times do we say things that aren't for building up, they're for tearing down? And imagine if all the people in the world would take that command seriously and never utter a word that was designed to tear down, but only to build up.
Yeah.
That would be, so God knows all the thoughts we have. He knows he's present with us always, and he's all powerful.
There you go. Omnipotence.
Yeah.
That's kind of where you talk about God being comprehensively productive. I like this because if he is the creator, that is the most productive that anybody can
Right.
be, is the one who creates. He is always productive, producing. He produced every single thing. The Bible says all things were created through him and by him and for him.
Right.
Yeah.
All the trees, even those dastardly cottonwoods that are blowing around
I
right
thought it
now.
was snowing again last week.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Summer snowstorm here.
Right.
All the crazy stuff that we see. Yeah, he created all of those things, but most importantly, he creates us. He doesn't just go, let there be Andy or let there be Jeff. It says here he knits us together.
Yeah, yeah. We should say he did that for the animals. He did that for the creatures and the critters. And something very different happened for the humans.
Yeah, even the original creation account, he doesn't just go let there be Adam. He forms him out of dust and breathes, gets intimate and breathes into life. And then when he makes Eve, he puts Adam to sleep and he pulls the rib out of the side and he fashions woman out of it. Very different view than what he did every other day of the week.
Yeah, yeah. This doesn't have to do with too much of anything except for how I personally apply this and practically instill these very important truths to my own family. I was just driving with Sage yesterday. We were on the way just to have a good time, and he wanted some water balloons. Actually, it's getting hot outside. So we're on the way to get some water balloons. And he was talking about some birds and a bird that had passed away. So we saw this dead bird and we're kind of dealing with this thing, etc. And he was talking about like what the bird is doing now and things, and I was like, Sage, honestly, to be completely honest with you, I really don't know. Like, if the bird is in heaven having fun with Jesus right now, flapping around having a good time, I don't know, but I'll tell you what I do know, that is true for you and for me, buddy. And we're talking about heaven and about like peace and joy and playing and all this goodness and what's going to come in the future, and it was a beautiful moment to kind of take these like you're saying, theologically deep things, but you can also explain them in a way to a 3-year-old.
Yeah, it's shallow enough, or it's basic enough for a kid to grasp, but yet it's deep enough for the deepest, most intelligent scholar to delve into for life.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
awesome.
So we were talking about like what happens when we pass, our flesh stays here, yet that soul, and he knows soul and things like that. We talk about that a lot, but it goes up to be with God, and that it's forever. It lives forever. That's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. So there's power right there, because I can't bring people back from the dead.
So yeah, he not only knits us together, but the psalmist even says, hey, why don't you slay the wicked, and they speak out against you and all this stuff, knowing that hey, you're so powerful. You are the one that creates and sustains and forms life, but you're also the one that is powerful enough to take it away. There's nothing that is over you. There's nothing that is more powerful than you. I was reading, I believe it's Psalm 104 for something future, and it says in there that God plays with the Leviathan, which was this massive creature that nobody really knows what it is. But the picture there is that God, the biggest thing that we can think of, I guess in our world, think of I don't know, what's the biggest dinosaur, Brontosaurus or whatever. Just think of God picking up the Brontosaurus and cuddling it. Like, no, that's power.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's the idea that comes out of here. He's omnipresent. He's with us personally, no matter where we go. He's in all. He sustains all. He's unbelievably personal. He knows all of our thoughts. He knit us together. Yeah. And he is unbelievably powerful. He's omnipotent. He creates life, sustains life, and ultimately judges life. And there's no one that trumps his authority and his power.
That is beautiful. And we know that he is faithful. So we can take all of his truth, the words that he has spoken to us, and we can we can be anxious for nothing because he knows all of our needs before we speak of them. He knows where our hearts are, the cry of our heart and the desires and all these things. He knows what we care about. He knows everything about us more than we know about ourselves.
Absolutely. So now you can even understand where when you hear about, the fear of the Lord, right? There is some legitimate, maybe I should be afraid of this guy that's all powerful, but at the same time, he is all loving and all caring and all merciful. I love how C.S. Lewis puts it in the Chronicles of Narnia when Lucy's asking about Aslan. Is he safe? And the response is, no, Aslan's not safe.
Right.
He's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Because he's this powerful lion, but he's good.
Yeah.
But he's good. Such a cool picture.
Yeah, it really is, honestly. Should we get into comprehensively pure? Being dangerous and super powerful at the same time, like you said, good. Purity. He's holy. He is set apart. He has his standards, and he has a kingdom, and that kingdom operates in a certain way. And if you want to abide or live in that kingdom with the citizenship to that kingdom, you need to live in the rules of that kingdom. And if you're not going to do so, well, then you're not going to be in that kingdom.
Right. Yeah, I think it's an interesting picture where the psalmist is, pleading or begging God in essence to slay the wicked. And he even goes into this, I hate them with complete hatred, which is weird Bible speak, right? In our current culture, we just want the love Bible speak.
Yeah.
We don't like the hate. But I love how he comes back around and says, but it's not me to decide who gets wiped out or who doesn't get wiped out. It's not me who decides who the wicked is. That's you. And so search me and make sure that it's easy for me to look and go, look how bad those people are. But let me not do that. Search my heart. Make sure that I'm not doing anything to feed into that. I'm not doing anything to propagate that. I'm not operating the same way. See if there's any grievous nature in my heart.
Yeah. That's important, and that's good. As we read it in Jude, even the archangel Michael didn't say, I rebuke you, Satan, but let the Lord rebuke you instead. So they know their place. We need to really figure out our place here.
Right.
Yeah. So good. We're going to be continuing to learn our place and to have words to speak these things that we're thinking as we continue with our Psalm sermon here, our Psalm summer series. And next week, as we did mention at the very beginning of this episode, will be Psalm 23, A Voice for Fear.
Right.
Very fitting.
The most famous psalm, probably the most famous section of Scripture, because I'll be watching, TV shows or movies, and it's being quoted verbatim. I was just watching a TV show the other night, and then they were at a funeral, and they quoted the 23rd Psalm. I'm like, right there on network TV, they're quoting Scripture.
Awesome.
So it's very famous, and I think it's often misused.
Yes.
Because of one phrase, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, okay, must be a funeral thing. But we're going to unpack that a little bit and see how it can come and be a voice for fear.
Good. I'm excited for that, and I hope you guys are as well. So please do join us this coming Sunday. It'll be 10 o'clock here at the Well Church in Brighton, Michigan.
And there's no food this week, right? There's no hot dogs.
Last weekend was Father's Day. We're at a normal Sunday now, which means we're going to get, as you kind of mentioned, you come to this church, you get the regular meal, right?
That's right. You get the regular meal.
All the different sized meals. So if you want to catch that, listen to the back at the previous sermon.
There you go.
But thank you so much, Jeff, for chatting with me today. And thank you all for listening. We appreciate your time.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Have a great
Bye.
day.